Well, if you've watched the Vikings any time this whole 2016 year, you know the biggest glaring need was the offensive line to improve so we can make a playoff push for next year. That was by far the biggest disappointment all year long. Injuries after injuries to disappointing backups led the Vikings to blow a 5-0 start to blow the whole division and make the playoffs. So let's talk about the Vikings offensive line woes, and we'll start throughout the whole season. We'll talk about some of the players that start on the team, and then we'll talk about other players, and we'll do a little whether or not we should keep them and how good they did. Because some, believe it or not, actually did play fairly well, but some were just so glaringly bad that it really pulled the whole team down. But let's start off preseason. Who do we bring in? Who are Who are some guys that didn't make it the team? Starting off, our right tackle, we thought we had Phil Loadhall. He was the big right tackle we've had for years, and we were really confident, or not necessarily confident, but we thought he would come in and play a nice job. He was always a great run blocker. He struggled a little bit at pass protection, but compared to the rest of our linemen this year, he would have been a gem. But unfortunately, he had to retire due to his Achilles injury, so we signed Andre Smith to play a right tackle. He was a guy that came in hopefully to fight for the spot, but then when Big Phil went down, he had no choice but to start there. Another guy we had in preseason was John Sullivan, and this one was probably the worst move by Spielman this year, and that was cutting John Sullivan. Of course, Joe Berger went to the Pro Bowl last year and was an All-Pro. He was a fantastic center last year. Graded number one in a run defense last year in All Pro Football Focus in the All NFL for centers. So I was hoping we just move Berger to guard because he can play all the interior line positions and have Sullivan at center. But instead, it looked like we really wanted to have Berger stay at center, so we just cut Sullivan. He had signed with the Bears, so we couldn't bring him back. All right, so those were the two we begin the year. So now, early on in the year, what happens? Matt Khalil comes in this game and he doesn't play very well, but then he gets injured for the whole year, goes in the IR. How good was Matt Khalil playing until that point? Well, pretty much average Matt Khalil that we've had the last couple of years. Ever since his rookie year, the thing with Matt Khalil is he's just not been healthy. At least that's the excuse it looks like. Because if you look at his rookie tape, he looked really good. Even if he's the big theory with Matt Khalil is that he went against a lot worse pass rushers his rookie year, so he just looked better. So maybe that is the case. And if that's the case, well then he's not going to be that good. But this was his fifth-year option this year, and I do foresee us giving him like a 2-year deal or something with minimum money, like backup left tackle money. But he'll probably be the starting left tackle next year if he doesn't want too much money, because I don't see him getting much money from any teams when he struggled mightily the last couple of years, and he's just coming off injury. So we should be able to get him off a nice cheap deal, so we can fight for the left tackle position next year. For next year. So then, for the left tackle, we signed Jake Long, who was a former first overall pick, and we're hoping he could go in and play well. So we had Clemmings there for a little bit. We'll talk about Clemmings later. He didn't cut it, and then we got Long. We put him in, and he started out very bad. Like he started out maybe our worst lineman in his first week, but he was very very rusty. He wasn't in football for a while. He's been injured, but then he started playing well, and right when he starts playing well, like our top lineman, he goes down. So Jake Long finally gets healthy, tears his ACL, probably done for his career. Thanks for your time with us, but I think his career is done. So then, the trash can himself, T.J. Clemmings, comes into play. And if there's anyone that inspired the intro, it would be T.J. Clemmings. He was absolutely atrocious. It's his second year. I believe he was a 4th or 5th round pick last year, and he played right tackle, and he wasn't bad. when Phil went out last year, he wasn't bad. Wasn't anywhere near our best lineman. He was probably still our worst lineman last year. Him and Brandon Fusco fought for that title. But he wasn't awful, and he just showed that why he's nowhere near a left tackle in the NFL. He looked awful all year long, giving up sacks after sacks. He made Radford I have no time. That if he would have any time at all, you see what Bradford can do. He can do week 2 stuff if he has time, where he'll torch the Packers. But when he has no time, that's when you get a lot of those checkdowns, and a lot of that is contributed to the play of T.J. Clemmings. Now it is his rookie deal, so I really see us not cutting him because he's gonna be super cheap, and hopefully we're done with him playing on left tackle. And if anything, I see him as being a decent enough backup right tackle, especially since he'll be a really cheap one. So that's what I see of T.J. Clemmings. Now the only left tackle on the roster is Rashad Hill. We got him off the Jaguars practice squad. He played in Week 17, I believe, and you didn't hear his name. He played fairly well. I don't know why he didn't play earlier when we first signed him. And that's another thing with T.J. Clemmings. I don't know why he played so much when he was historically bad. Um, but maybe the coaches saw something, but if he's so bad on game day, that's the only thing that really matters. I don't care how good he is at practice. He has to be good in the game day to be worth it at all. So that's the left tackle position. I would have wished we would have seen more of Rashad Hill. Maybe he just was really bad in practice and we just got lucky a few times. Or we just didn't see him because we just got a bunch of quick passes and we helped him a whole lot with our running backs and tight ends. So moving further in the line, we go to left guard and you go to Alex Boone, who Alex Boone was our big lineman acquisition from last year, who we brought in. His toughness, attitude, I really liked about Rhino, and Alex Boone played fairly well all year. If I'd do a ranking list, he'd be our second best lineman all year. He's fairly consistent. He was a little bit injured, but when he was healthy, he played very. No, I wouldn't say very good because it's really hard to say with our O line. But you didn't hear about him a lot. He didn't give up a lot of sacks. He's about what you expected. He didn't get a ton of push, but when you have T.J. Clemmings getting guys to come in to tackle anyways, maybe it's hard to tell when he does get the push. I think Alex Boone did play fairly well, and I think he'll be the starting left guard next year because, well, he signed up for a decent amount of money. So I don't feel too bad about having Alex Boone there. Our other left guard on the roster right now is Zach Kieran, and we don't know a whole lot about him. So I don't mind having Alex Boone on the team for a few more years because he's a solid left guard in the NFL. All right, so now I talked about him a little bit earlier. So now let's talk about Joe Berger, who was the best lineman again this year. So consistent, so consistent. How many times did you hear the name Joe Berger on the year? And that's a good thing when you don't hear about a lineman all year long. He always was one of the most consistent run blockers on the team. You almost always could get a one guy blocked, but the problem with having interior linemen, you have to have 3 at the minimum to be getting their job done blocking. Otherwise, it just looks like a train wreck. So even if your boy Berger is blocking a guy 4 yards off the ball, Fusco can give up penetration for the right side, and you still get tackled for the 2 yard loss that we're all too accustomed to. But Berger was phenomenal. He's very old though, so if you look into backups, and the number one backup on the team is Nick Easton, who another guy who played very well. At the beginning of the year, center is our only position on our line that I think we're somewhat stacked in. Nick Easton played in a few games, and you did not hear his name very much either. 5 games, and I don't think he even gave up a sack. You can't really see his stats here, but I don't think he gave up a sack. He probably gave up a few pressures, but I think Nick Easton played very well. Of course, he was the number one Pro Football Focus center. Yeah, last year in preseason, so we got him in the Gerald Hodges trade, and that looks like it's panning up for us. I could really see uh, I could see Nick Easton to be the center of our future. Berger is getting up there in age. He is 34 now, he'll be 35 next year. I don't know how much longer he has. It might be just a year or two. He's one of those another old guy, like much like Terrence Newman, that you might have a guy ready, but it's gonna be hard losing Berger, especially because Berger And when he gets flip flopped to guard, he still played at a very high level. So it's gonna be interesting to see what he decides. But I think Nick Easton can come in and play good at center if he has to next year or the year after. So moving to right guard, we see Brandon Fusco, a guy that I don't get how he turned so bad. In 2012, he was the right guard in his position right here that helped Adrian Peterson get 2,000 yards. But now what happened? Last year he was at left guard and he was awful at left guard. So we were just always out of position. So let's move him back to right guard. And he was still bad. It was an improvement from last year, but he was still bad. I would say he was our second worst lineman all year long. Him and TJ Clemmings fought week in and week out to be our worst lineman. They were atrocious all year long. Uh, uh Maybe third worst. I get to right guards first. But Fusco, man, we gave him some money a few years ago, and I don't know when that's going to end, but I hope we can get that contract ran out and hopefully get an improvement at right guard. That's one of the more glaring needs. And because I think when Berger went to right guard and we had Nick Easton at center, I think we finally got a little bit of push up the middle, and that was probably our best mix. But uh, right guard needs to be addressed. Hopefully, next year we can maybe do a Berger at right guard, then Nick Easton at center. That'd be most ideal. But again, we don't know the age of Berger, and we don't know how good he'd be at right guard all year long. But I think we've seen him do just enough to make me more than sure that he'd be better than Fusco. The other right guard on our roster is the rookie Willie Beavers, who didn't play much at all. Was interested to see how good he would be. He was a rookie, I believe he was a fourth round pick, and he was hoping to see him maybe come in and make some plays. That's always what you see in the NFL with all these patchwork lines, all these rookies coming in and holding the position down and not having a big drop off like the Vikings had. But Willie Beavers, man, didn't impress the coach enough, it seems, or maybe he had an injury. But he never got a chance. Another guy that did play right guard last year was Mike Harris, and apparently he was battling an injury all year long. So we didn't see him. And he played fairly well last year. He was probably our second best running block or run blocker all year. He was a big manhandling right guard. So if we bring Mike Harris back, that'd be nice to see him play at right guard because I think he was a fairly high improvement over Fusco. Then maybe we could have our boy Berger at left guard. Or no, we don't. We have Bruin there. Wherever. We have some options interiorly if we have healthy linemen. So now to right tackle, and this was one of the bigger roller coasters all year, going from Loadhall to Andre Smith. Andre Smith didn't look good all year too. He looked all right, but all right's like as big as his complete top of his ceiling performance for him. He was usually pretty bad. When I say pretty bad, I mean almost as bad as Matt Khalil bad. They're about even as far as good they were. I don't know what type of contract we gave Andre Smith. I think it was like either 1 or 2 years back. I wouldn't mind him being back because God knows we need more linemen, and he's an improvement from Jeremiah Searles. But uh, I want a better tackle. I'm hoping we get draft 3 or 4 offensive linemen, and hopefully 2 or 3 of them are offensive tackles. We need those. Interiorly, we honestly aren't too bad. So now the guy that played most of the snaps at right tackle, he played some at left tackle, but he was bad there. Was Jeremiah Searles, and again, almost as bad as TJ Clemmings. I think he was a little bit better by a hair, but another guy that uh I wouldn't be surprised if he was gone. I don't know what type of. He's 25 years old. It's his third season. He's been on the team for a little bit, so he'll probably be on the team next year. But I don't see any picking up any option on him because the only thing he has is he has somewhat versatility because he can play both positions and he started all 10 games this year. So you can make a case for him that way, but I don't really see Vikings really needing to keep Searles. So the lineman I like to keep at the end of the day, TJ Clemmings, I think needs to have a chance because he looked all right at right tackle last year. Just don't try him at left tackle anymore, please. Rashad Hill, I think he deserves a good look next year, at least a camp body. Alex Boone, he'll be starting left guard next year. Joe Berger, hopefully he's back. Nick Easton, I like what I've seen from him. Fusco, I would like Fusco to be gone, honestly. Uh, Willie Beavers, I hope he's an improvement. If the coaches say he's worse than Fusco, I gotta believe him. So if that's not, well, that's another O-line bust from Spielman. Spielman has not been very good in drafting linemen. His track record is not very good at all. But maybe if he takes a few more throws at the dartboard, we'll pick a few more linemen. That's called the odds game after all. And then right tackle Searles, I wouldn't mind if he's gone. So I could see a few buys out. But with all the lineman injuries, the more we keep, the better, honestly. At least for preseason. And then if they're all healthy, then you can cut the ones that just don't make that just aren't up to par. And hopefully we find some better ones that are move that par up. Because I believe if we had an average offensive line, if we were 15th ranked Pro Football Focus, whatever metric you want to go with, 15th in the league in sacks given up, I think we would be like a 12-4 team, and we'd be in the playoffs right now, and we'd probably be taking on the Cowboys this weekend because I think we were better than the Packers if had a halfway decent offensive line. But anyways, that does cover this Vikings Woes episode on Z. If you guys like the Vikings, subscribe for more Vikings videos just like that. And we'll see you guys in the next Z video. See ya.